Okay, this one is, I think, one that I had to redo. It's also on being an introvert or an extrovert. Now remember, they're not your functions. They're two totally separate things. It's your environment and how your brain operates and what makes you the most productive, happiest, and at peace. It's a whole different scope of it within it. And I'll just kind of go through these lists that I've gathered off of the internet so that you can see which one that you can relate to more, and it will help you to understand if you're a true introvert or a true extrovert. Remember, neither is wrong. It's just based off of the way that scientifically your brain is set up and the environment that makes you the most productive and happy. So for an introvert, we already covered this. They have that constant inner monologue going on in their brain. So they're trying to focus on what their brain is saying as well as what's going on around them. And it's a lot to keep track of. They can have problems with low blood pressure sometimes. Yeah, firsthand, I know of that one. Small talk or chit-chat causes anxiety, remember, because it's the uncertainty. You don't know where this conversation is going. So as an introvert, it would be really cause anxiety. They're not excited in meeting new people. That's not the goal of why they go out or why they speak. They're there for a totally different reason, either to obtain information or something private. It's not necessarily, oh, I get to meet new people. That's not their goal. They can become confused in social gatherings, even in the ones that they want, remember, because it's that chit-chat. It's not knowing where that situation's going. They look at the big picture and the consequences more often, because we need to think about it before we can act. Speaking about something that is not important can make an introvert feel phony, and it can cause them stress. Very true. Periods of heightened social activity balanced by long periods of solitude, because you need that solitude to recharge, because you love people, you want to be around people. It's nothing personal, but remember, because we have so much, we receive our dopamine from our brains itself and from thinking, we need that alone time to receive that. Let me see, language is philosophical, meaning-based, more like you know, what I'm doing here, as opposed to, did you know I walked the dog yesterday? It's not quite so, there's just a different language there. I'm sure that you've seen it. Most creative and charged while being alone, because then they have freedom to focus on what they're wanting to do with their own thinking and things that they find important, as opposed to being obligated to the things around them. They need thought-provoking books and movies. They prefer an unstimulating environment because drama stresses them out. They can become too overwhelmed in an environment with excess stimulation. Alone time is satisfying. Let me see. Introverts hardly ever struggle with boredom. Very true. Having to mingle with people causes more stress, which we've already covered, that uncertainty of the situation. In public places, they will sit or walk where they can easily get away, so that they can just get those moments of recharging. Because, like I said, it's very draining being out and around people. They can get tired and even unresponsive after a while, like being out at the store, at the mall, or whatever, because their brain is actually trying to conserve energy because it is so depleting. They get a rush from their thoughts, not from their environment. Again, that's the dopamine. And they would rather be an expert at one thing than to do many things. So they have a natural skill for intense study and development within one area. They screen all of their calls as well, even from friends and family, because remember, we need to be mentally prepared before we speak. An extrovert. This is, again, if you can see yourself on this side, then you know which one you're more prone to being. They are frustrated by boredom, dullness, and quiet. Remember, because they need that external interaction to receive their dopamine and their happiness and to recharge. Things that they find frustrating or difficult for them is having a weekend night off, but no one is available to hang out. They get frustrated because they constantly need excitement, being upset and need to talk it out and no one is around, needing social stimulation. People who can sometimes mistakenly think that they're too clingy because they need to be around people. Being home alone is very difficult for them. Sometimes extroverts can blurt out their thoughts, and what they're thinking or feeling before they've necessarily had time to fully form, that idea. Remember, because they have to be in it to gauge it. We see they're putting their personality on display, where you walk up and poke somebody, or you jab them, or that physical, display of, so that you get that guaranteed interaction that you desire. When you come home and there's no one to talk to, because they really do enjoy that chit-chat, that small talk with other people, feeling like they should be more shameful or have a sense of embarrassment, but they don't. They just roll with it. People think that they are needy mistakenly when you're just trying to recharge by connecting with somebody. Remember, because they are totally dependent on that. That's how they receive their dopamine. Trying to deal with unexpected alone time is difficult for them. They can be productive in any environment. Once they get going with something, sometimes things can get a little carried away. Something that's very frustrating for them too is when they're with somebody or sitting by somebody and they're texting, or they've got their headphones on, because they see it as a barrier. They can't interact with that person and get that brain to recharge, or their dopamine, because they can't interact with you because you've got those things on or this. So you'll see that they get very frustrated and don't like that. They're more comfortable in a large group than by self, and silence is difficult, and they really enjoy being entertained. There's nothing wrong with either one of these. These are just the way that the brain is set up to be and what we actually need. So it's not one is right or one is wrong. It's just learning to respect, and to see it from that other person's side for a change. Instead of saying, why aren't you more like me? You can look at the situation for what it really is and respect it. They're just doing naturally what they have to so that the brain can function at its best. Until later, goodbye.